Welcome to tonight's stream. My name's Pierre Draculea. We are going to be inking some more of the Ricky B. the Rat Thanksgiving in Ratsville. I haven't decided on the exact title of that yet, so let's get right to it. Here we go. This is where we left off. I had thought that, which is Ricky being dragged by the tail, shopping by his girlfriend Baby. I had thought I would redraw this, but I kind of like the drawing. Her head's too big, but I can fix that in Photoshop. So we're going to leave that right there. Now, where is she dragging him to? Well, the Homerat store. So, where did I put the story? I'm just going to quickly read a bit. So what this drawing went with, because it's going to be an illustrated short story, is Ricky talks about, Baby's thinking of the future when me and her, why don't I try and do the Ricky voice? Baby's thinking of the future when me and her are hitched and we have a house and she might take a turn hosting Thanksgiving and other holidays. So she's always dragging me with her to the Homerat store to pick out decorations and stuff, which she then puts in a big old storage unit she's renting till we have that house. So the next drawing I have is the storage unit, but I thought what I might do in the story before that is let's have an ad for Homerat. Kind of ties in with how I do things on the Ricky B Goes to Sea graphic novel. So we don't have the entire drawing in. I'm not gonna, well, actually I can kind of pull it up a little bit and it'll just kind of block my face, but that's okay. I think it's more important to see the art anyways. So, oh yeah, and it would help if I put the ink in my little shot glass container for it. But anyways, I was thinking we would have a nice little Homerat ad at that point. There'll be a few ads that I'm going to pop through. Well, I mean, obviously they're parody ads. That one is bad. Why don't if I tilt the camera, then it's not as in the way. That's a little better, I think. Anyways, we will also have, for example, an ad for Myles's accountancy firm, because we had the reference to that at the beginning, but I need to find a couple of good ads that I can kind of parody on the, you know what, I am going to zoom in on this, and, some accountant ads that I can parody, but I was out for coffee with my dad earlier. We were, he always reads the paper and then I kind of work in a sketchbook and whatnot. And anyways, I had a look at the papers after he was done, and it was National Post and what was the other one? Now I'm over here. There, that's better now. Move things around. Anyways, and then he was reading the Victoria paper, the Times columnist, and it was interesting to see just how few ads there were in those newspapers. I seem to remember, because, when I was growing up, my parents had a subscription to the Vancouver Sun, and Dad did right until we moved over here. But I always remember there being way more ads, and there's not anymore. I mean, I have heard viewership is kind of in the toilet, or not viewership, readership is kind of in the toilet for a lot of these newspapers, so they're probably not getting the ads. They certainly can't charge the ad rates that they used to. So maybe it's that, but, and to the extent that there were ads, they were like ads for like condos that were they were like real estate development ads. And some company that does gutter cleaning has a lot of money, because there were like 3 ads for the same gutter company in the different papers he had. So hopefully it's working out for them. But anyways, there's a couple options that I'm going to look for in the next week or so. I know there's one that's got a lot of like local ads. It's like a magazine, local magazine. So there may be some accountant ads in there. And the other thing I was thinking is I may when I get a chance, pick up a copy of, the Wall Street Journal or the Financial Post and kind of see if I can find anything in there. I have an idea of the ad for Myles's Mar of Money Services. But I also remember ages ago hearing, and maybe this isn't the case anymore, but I always used to hear that, the governing body for accountants in Canada had a lot of tight rules about what accountants could put in the ads, not just in terms of content and whatnot, but even like control about, okay, your signage and your branding for your firm has to be one of these kind of colors, and this is a list of approved fonts and whatnot. I tried Googling that earlier and I could not find anything about it. So it may be that it's like an old rule and that's been changed. I don't know, maybe, but then I couldn't even find, like when I was told that, it was probably about 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. So the internet was a thing, but I didn't find even any old internet pages that had any information about that. So I don't know. And obviously it's a comic book, so it doesn't need to be super accurate, but I just think it would be funnier if Myles's ad looks like an authentic accountant ad. I do. One of the people I know from Toastmasters is an accountant, but I don't think she has her own. Maybe she does. I don't know if she has her own like practice or whatnot. And I think also a lot of accountants end up kind of everything's word of mouth, so they don't necessarily advertise anyways. I'll have to also pay attention to like bus ads, because I do remember when I lived in Vancouver, I can remember seeing ads on the back of buses for the accounting firm my dad and I used to use. That was quite a big firm, but they're the ones who got hacked, and then that ended up being a whole identity theft nightmare for me. My data got stolen, so part of me would very much like to find one of their ads and skewer the crap out of it. Although it's something I could definitely have Myles mention, have it say in Myles's ads, like, if we get hacked, it's on you, or, very cheap 12-month subscription to a $30 a month identity, like the back end of Equifax and whatnot was what I was offered when I was told that, oh yeah, well, we did get hacked. Oh, that's probably no big deal. But, here's a year on us for Equifax. And I found out it was a total nightmare. So anyways, that's a whole other story. But anyways, point is, we may have a fake ad for Myles's accountancy firm, but I gotta draw it first. So Homerat, the logo right there. And then this is kind of, I went through, here in Canada, Homesense is like the TJ Maxx Homegoods type of thing. Anyways, I had a look through one of their, their social media, some of the stuff that they were making content about that was in the store back in, last fall. So we're going to have some of that coming through here. So I'm thinking kind of like, now this is a candle without a jar. They do a lot of like jar candles, but it is going to be sitting in a little maple, like a little leaf dish or something. And we got the nib trying to dig in and whatnot. It's early in the stream, but this is the nib that I have like a dozen replacement ones of, though. So if it's being a problem, I will just swap it out for a different one. Oh, yes, and that would... It would help if I remember that I don't have the document camera up at full height. So anyways, of course, when I'm working in liquid ink, I usually want to do top left to bottom right. But also when it's things that are in behind other things, sometimes I kind of want to work front to back, and I just have to be extra careful. So maybe I will bring that up a little bit. So we got this little candle thingy there. Now let's go back up to the logo. One ad they had, I think I actually saw these in person in the stores too, but I guess there was a bit of a fad about brass, well, brass, it's probably plastic, but brass toned mirrors that had like a bow motif at the top or whatever. So we're gonna play around with one of those. Of course, I'm kind of in a glass house sort of position when it comes to commenting on Homegoods, Homesense, Homerat. I am running errands the next town over tomorrow with my dad, and we will be stopping at a Homesense. We might be, no, we're just stopping at one. But there's definitely days when if I go running errands down in that town, I'm stopping at 2 Homesenses, so. So before I go further on the mirror, I kind of do have to draw some other stuff. So, I'm doing is just barely kissing the ink with the corner of the ripped paper towel, and it'll wick up some of the excess that's there. In theory, you can do this without smudging, but you gotta kind of watch yourself. So, one of those things where I probably should do a little bit more still life drawing. Got basically it's the ad is for candle type stuff and deco pieces for Thanksgiving. So I've got a random little statuette of a turkey here. I've got the mirror in the background, the candlestick, a round candle, and then a couple other things. When we get to that side, we'll be doing one of those decorative pumpkins. So I believe the phrase is table escape. In other words, you know, the sort of stuff that Baby Rattsen would be buying at the Homerat store and expecting Ricky to be cool with. Stuff that's going to go into their eventual house. So, we want to, now we can kind of finish off at least this half of the mirror. And I'm thinking it's going to be kind of like a plaid tablecloth. I'm going to hate myself for making that decision like 30 seconds. Derek says, you know, I should color that. I'm just going to leave it outlined. The reason why I'm leaving it just black and white is it's going to be ending up in a book. By the way, welcome to the stream, Derek. It'll be ending up in a book that I will be self-publishing through Amazon Print on Demand. And the way the the pricing on that sort of stuff goes, black and white printing is way cheaper. So, you know, if I had that side, the book that I'm planning on eventually putting this into, if it was full color, it would probably be, I'd have to charge like $35, $40 for it, depending on size. So to keep things more reasonable, a lot of stuff is going to end up staying black and white. I do have a couple books that will be in full color for sure, but that's just kind of the economics of it. Especially when if you're self-publishing, then it matters. If you're like signed to like HarperCollins or something like that, then it ends up being a different matter, right? Just because they've got the volume and their own print houses and all that. So they get better deals, but you know. Plus, I do like the look of all black and white. It's a modality that I've been doing for a very long time, so it's kind of one of my signatures. Although I do a lot of color work as well, but a little sense of it being a reflective surface there. I'm going to kind of give a little bit of a tint on this just by cross-hatching. I'll probably end up looking a little bit like buffalo check. So until it's all done, it's going to look kind of like there's steps on the table. We got the start of our plaid tablecloth going. Also, I'll use a different nib to kind of put a thicker black line on the outside of either of those stripes. So now this little dish, it's a little awkward to kind of get the right foreshadowing on, or foreshortening, I guess I should say, on a dish that's kind of cupped up, right? And you're seeing it at a slightly top-down angle, but we'll see how this ends up looking. Like that's not very consistent, but oh well. I think it is a good point to bring in the thicker nib to give a little bit of a weight in a few areas. That also kind of gives the impression of it lifting off the table and some dimensionality in that as well. So then what I said I was going to do is to bring a thick black line along the edge of our plaid, but it does need to stop there for the text, which is a little bit out of frame here. So I'm going to do that. And now I need to, I think the next thing I got to do is the pumpkin on the side and finish off the candlestick. Is a problem where that landed, but Photoshop for one thing, and blotting it for another. And adding polka dots on the leaf dish to make it look intentional for a third. Here I'm thinking of some of the decorative pumpkins that they'll actually, are they starting to get them in now? Probably in another week or two. If they haven't already started getting in fall pumpkins at Homesense, Homegoods, they will be in very soon. And sometimes they have ones where it's different textured cloth, which is kind of what I'm going for here. Okay, so with that pumpkin drawn now, kind of all the items are in place, so now we can kind of go through and continue on with the tablecloth. At least in the spots where it actually shows. the stripes in one direction now. Guess it's time to put in the slogan. So the slogan there, useless crap for less. Now, I think I am going to pivot this so that I can do the rest of the plaid. So it's going to come in about like so. Right about like that. So it's starting to take shape. I don't have a proper perspective because they would all be diamonds, not vertical, right? But we are doing this the way it's going. So Let's add some other lines to this plaid pattern. So. And then we've got to add a shadow onto the pumpkin as well. So now I guess I'm gonna bring a little bit of dark up in between these sections of the pumpkin, because they're pretty deep cuts into it. I think we will leave that drawing at this point. So let me pull this up so we can see the entire thing. A little cover that goes on the document camera in between shows. So there we go. Homerat, useless crap for less. And then we've got a selection of different fall, Thanksgiving-ish kind of items. Why is that? And it's not totally squared up, but there we go. Now, let's go on to the next drawing. So I just set that aside. So now we're going to come back to Baby and Ricky. And we have them. Ricky's talking about the storage unit where Baby puts all the crap that she buys at I keep wanting to call it Homesense because that's the real life one, but at Homerat, as per what it's called in the story. So. It's one of those ones that they do a padlock on. I'm trying to remember from when I had a storage unit before I moved here. I remember that I had brought my own padlocks, but trying to think, I suspect actually that the one I had, you actually locked, that the lock was to the side. Although maybe they did have it at the bottom or something. I can't remember. I probably have photos somewhere, somewhere in my hard drives, because it's the sort of thing I probably would have posted on Instagram back in the day. So we've got Baby here in her pink faux fur jacket. And I think the dress is supposed to be either bright yellow or lime green. So, oh yeah, the little blurb of the story. So before I continue on with this, so Ricky's already talked about that they take things to the storage unit that Baby's renting until they have a house after they're married. So then he continues. And that storage unit is absolutely stuffed since she's been packing it full of stuff from Homerat since 8th grade. At this point, I think we're going to need a mansion just to fit it all, and I don't know how I'm going to afford one of them unless I win the lottery. But Baby insists we still don't have everything we need for the house yet, so Wednesday, when I could slip away from the studio, I picked her up from cosmetology school and we headed back to Homerat. And then we'll carry on with that on the next thing, but this is kind of like a flashback where he's thinking of the storage unit being absolutely stuffed full of all these things that Baby has been collecting since 8th grade. She's got it all boxed up too, with like packing tape and whatnot. I need to raise that just a touch. Yeah, and that's kind of has everything. This is one of those drawings that takes longer than you think because there's all these teeny little boxes full of random crap like we've just had in the previous drawing. So there she's got 42 boxes of kitchen stuff, or did when that one was put in. On the top it'll just crop out, so. I think this time, the 7 p.m., I think is going to end up being a better fit, certainly for my schedule. I mean, I do notice that now the videos that are kind of this horizontal format with the document camera and whatnot, they do tend to get more replay, so it may not matter overall, but anyways. Kind of glad I did switch to the 7 p.m. Just thinking back in the day, a woman would have or had from the time she was a girl been starting to kind of acquire stuff for her future wedding household. I know in some cultures, like in Latvia, girls start knitting mittens when they're girls, and they will fill mittens and sweaters and all this stuff and kind of fill a chest that's part of their bride wealth or whatnot. Um, Now I guess we just do the registry or buy stuff and set it aside, but the hope chest kind of thing is still something that you saw around when I was a kid. I mean, my mom's hope chest is still at my dad's house. You know, I guess nowadays we just call them blanket chests or whatnot, but that was kind of the thing back in the day, was that you would fill a hope chest with, you would make things for your future household and whatnot. Baby's simply doing the same thing, but buying it and putting it in her storage unit. So instead of a hope chest, she has a hope storage unit. I always kind of envision my rat and mouse characters would use their tails kind of expressively. So Baby's happy, her tail's up. Ricky's kind of like, uh-oh. So his tail is drooping for sure. Probably shrink this arm in Photoshop. I think it's a little wide, but whatever. Fix that later. There we have that drawing where they're in front of the storage unit. I am going to put a shadow, heavy shadow under that garage door though. And we got about 40 minutes left in tonight's stream, so I think that'll definitely be enough time to get another one of this size of drawing done. Where is the next drawing? The next one is the cheese forks. So anyways, so the story carries on from that illustration where Ricky's flashing back and thinking of the overstuffed Homerat, or the overstuffed storage unit, and then she's dragging him to Homerat. And as they're driving there, Ricky says, "What are we looking for? What are we looking for today, baby?" "We're gonna need cheese forks." "Oh, okay, baby. Wait, didn't we get cheese forks a few months ago?" "Those are St. Patrick's Day cheese forks with shamrocks on the handles. We need Thanksgiving cheese forks with turkeys on the handles." "Ah, gotcha." And then the narration continues where Ricky says, "Well, really, I didn't gotcha, baby, because it seems to me we could just get a single set of fancy but non-specific cheese forks to use for all occasions, but I long since learned not to upset baby by saying such things, and so we wandered around in the kitchen section, and baby found brass turkey cheese forks and bought 16 of them. And then she spent half an hour deciding what scented candles to buy and put in the storage unit." By the way, if you put scented, well, I guess it depends how well the jars are sealed, but probably if you bought scented candles and kept them in a storage unit for years, like Baby is apparently doing, they probably wouldn't really have much scent left. I guess it depends. So some jars, if they're really sealed well, and if the I was going to say pigment, but pigment's not the right word. If the fragrance is a stable one, then maybe that would work. But I know I used to have not storage unit levels of scented candles, but I used to have quite a few, like probably 15 different ones I'd get on sale, and I would keep them up on my kitchen, like above my kitchen cabinets, and I definitely noticed by the time I'd get around to using them, they wouldn't really have the smell that I remember them having. They may not have any smell, or they may have kind of gone like, ugh. Anyways, so I guess the point is, if you're going to get scented candles, get them in small quantities and use them up. But so we're going to, anyways, point is we're drawing cheese forks. I seem to recall this specific gag was inspired by seeing brass cheese forks on clearance at Homesense, the day after or a week after Thanksgiving. And there were several boxes where each was a set of 4. And they had little turkeys on the top. So this drawing is going to be fairly small and fairly quick. Famous last words. but it's basically, it's a single gag, so. And like this big, we're going to use the brush to, yeah, maybe fill in all of it, but at least fill in the middle. Okay, so we've got the Thanksgiving cheese fork on that side. Now, we need to draw the other ones. Pretty sure I have also seen shamrock cheese forks at Homesense. So, anyways, think this is going to be our last drawing of the night because the one that comes after this, I'm pretty sure is going to be a 45-minute drawing. And don't want to run late tonight. I have apparently started one of my annual traditions, which I wish wasn't an annual tradition, but it seems every year, somewhere in the first half of July, I have, you know, week or so where I really don't sleep well, and I'm not sure exactly why. It wasn't like last night was crazy hot or whatnot, but previous years I haven't been able to figure out why either. It's just, apparently it's a thing that happens, so, ugh. But I mean, I've been yawning all day, so that's why I'm kind of like, we're not running late. We'll probably end a little bit early. I need to update my iCal because that notification, I don't know if it picked up on my mic, but it's telling me it's time to apparently go hit the treadmill. It must have been a New Year's resolution thing. It's like, oh yeah, 8:30 after my live streams, I'll go and I'll actually use my treadmill. Yeah. Nah, I usually go for a walk in the morning. Get it out of the way bright and early. Anyways, I need to update that now that I'm streaming at 7 p.m. instead of 6:30. So I guess that's as good a segue as any into the rest of this week's streaming schedule. It's going to be the usual schedule, just everything's at 7 instead of I was doing Monday to Friday 6:30 and then Saturday at 7 the last couple weeks for my weekly recap video. But now it's just going to be everything's at 7. And so tomorrow we are doing a couple more cast portraits for, which is bonus content for the Noah's Archipelago comic collection that I'm working on. Showing the first book is going to be like, I think it's the first 9 months of the webcomic version of Noah's Archipelago. So that's getting close to finished. I think basically I've got 4 drawings left, 4 or 5 drawings left to do. 3 half-page, like this sized cast portraits I'll do on tomorrow's stream, and then 2 full-page ones I'll do the week after. And then this week, it's kind of more of an oval sign for the no on the shamrock ones. But, and then I'll just quickly run through. Wednesday night will be Zommel the Destroyer, continuing on with illustrations from the world according to Zommel. And Thursday, we've got the last 2 jobs for the coloring book, the A to Z of Noah's Job History. We're not done with that book yet, though, because then there's some like story illustrations that go with it that will start on the week after. So probably another 3 or 4 weeks, probably another month actually, on the Thursday night streams with that project. And those are still going to be vertical streams until I finish that project. And then Friday, Ricky B goes to sea, and we'll be on that, I think, probably through, definitely through the end of September, possibly through Halloween. Kind of depends. If I'm able to consistently do 3 pages per stream, then it'll be finished sooner, but probably, you know, we'll assume about 2. I missed a spot. But anyways, so that's that. And then, like I said, on Saturday, the project recap stream, where I do brainstorming and doodling afterwards. Last week we did a bunch of 4th of July inspired cartoons. This week I think the theme's going to be summer fun. So we'll see about that. So, and then of course next week we will continue on with this story. So let's have a little recap of what we have drawn so far today. We started off because last week we ended with Baby dragging Myles. Did I say Myles? Myles is her cousin. Baby dragging Ricky to the Homerat store, which he not thrilled about. Then we did an ad for Homerat, and I'll just pull that up. So we had the ad for Homerat, useless crap for less, and some assorted fall sort of items, candlestick, little turkey figurine, our egg-shaped scented candle in a leaf-shaped dish, and fabric pumpkin, and then the brass mirror with a bow on it, not specifically fall, but you often see their ads where it'll be like, here's a seasonal item, and then here's random other stuff. I should lean off so I'm not blocked by this. Anyways, the other pages are half pages, so we're just gonna bring that back down. Anyway, so usually when you see their ads or their social media posts, it'll, unless it's a specifically like buy this specific Halloween crap here, you know, and even then it'll be like there'll also be some candles and stuff in the back that aren't specifically Halloween. So we have a little table scape that matches in the plaid table cloth. So that was that. And then we came back to the story, and there's Baby and her storage unit full of housewares that she has bought at the Homerat store, going back to 8th grade. And Ricky's looking at this stuffed storage unit thinking, oh Lord, we got too much stuff. So we had that. And then they got into their little discussion about cheese forks. And Ricky doesn't understand why they need more cheese forks. Well, Baby wants a set of like 16 for every different occasion. So they didn't have turkey ones yet. And why 16? Well, A, it's a big round number. B, Baby's got lots of friends. C, she is the youngest of 5 girls. And then she's got loads of cousins, and her sisters are married with kids and all this. So you start doing the math and how it compounds, right? You start needing a lot of cheese forks, I guess. All the more reason, as Ricky tried to point out, or was thinking but didn't dare point out to her on this trip, why they should just have one fancy set that could work for any occasion. But, you know, nope, that's not going to work. Anyways, so when we carry on, I'll just show the blue line, if you can make out what Ricky's got there. That's the first thing I think we're drawing next week. But we will leave it at that point. So thank you for watching. And like I said, the next one, that's definitely like a 45-minute drawing. So I don't want to run over, so we'll call it there for tonight. If anybody's just tuning in kind of late, well, I guess it's late because the show's ending, but just tuning in now, what I'm going to do is what I always do with my streams. I'll save it as private. YouTube wants to do its video processing, whatever stuff. It's usually done that by about noon, sometimes 2 p.m. the next afternoon. So that's when I will go and make it a public stream again. So you can definitely catch the replay. And, oh yeah, I always forget. I'll just quickly throw that in. Subscribe if you enjoy. Hit like. Share. You can tell all your friends. Tell your enemies. Tell people you want to annoy. Whatever. And it's about to end the stream. I forgot. When I'm on OBS, I actually have cards for this. Thanks for watching. We've got Ricky and Myles. Myles, again, is Baby's cousin. So that's how he connects here. And then on the other side, we got Noah and Ursula from my other comic from Noah's Archipelago. So thank you for watching. And what I am going to close out the show with today is, I got my little music-y annoying video, but I know it always brings up like where you can recommend something else. So what I'm going to recommend is the Thanksgiving in Ratsville playlist, which granted, this is only the second video on it, but you know, if somebody's finding this 6 months from now, then the whole project will be up, right? So anyways, thank you for watching. You can check out more videos, and like I said, I stream every Monday through Saturday at 7 p.m. a different project every night. So hope to see you again real soon. Bye for now.